Hello everyone, this is Alberto Ferro, your host at Where is the Music podcast. As you're getting ready for a new musical investigation, preparing your ears and imagination for another journey in the world of music, I would like to remind you that Where is the Music podcast has no sponsor. It relies entirely on donations from listeners like yourself. You can find a link to my website, albertoferro.com, and to my Patreon account in the episode description. If you like what I do and would like me to continue doing it, I encourage you to become a supporter of the podcast, which publishes an episode every week. Thank you for listening, and now let's find out where is the music. Hello everyone and welcome back to the podcast. Today I wanted to talk about what in music we refer to as open forms. We use this term open forms particularly in modern music and jazz, and also particularly when we refer to songs that you not only can improvise around, can improvise on, but you can also modify the inner form of a tune. And I already know that some of you are like a bit puzzled by what I'm saying. There are a few questions. Well, what do you mean change the form of a tune or change the design, the structure of a tune? Doesn't it change the whole tune if you do that? And then how can you improvise your way through a tune, changing it and perhaps along with other musicians? Well, let's make some order here. First of all, I find that the term open form it's interesting in first place because forms are things that we see. We see a form, a shape in a sculpture, a painting, or maybe in an architecture. To consider, let's say, a visual open form or a form, a shape that opens up, we will start going into shapes that are perhaps transparent or that have holes that perhaps do not fall within the within strict categories of solid structures. Somehow it will become a form that allow transformation, allow change, allow to merge with other forms, allow elements to become part of it and maybe transform it from inside. I know I'm probably going a little bit too abstract here, but hear me out. When we listen to music, we are not necessarily seeing a form. So how can we speak about forms in music? The terms has become part of the music, let's say, vocabulary, because composers do see things happening when they write them on the score. They tend to develop an attention towards what we today we will call the timeline of events of a musical composition. So the form of a composition, however short or long that is, can be grasped visually if one can put it all on the paper at once, and therefore you can start considering aspect of proportions between the sections and make choices that depend or that are affected by such considerations. And then a jazz tune, a jazz standard, usually is performed in this manner. You play once the whole tune, which is usually somewhere between 8 bars and maybe 50, something like that. And then the structure, the form, so-called, repeats, but allowing improvisers to interpret it in their own individual manner. So this is the general outline of a jazz performance. There is nothing particularly original. It's intuitive to think that a band of instrumentalists will get together, play a tune that they all know, and once the tune is finished, well, then we just repeat it, and people will just start changing things around until the tune will become more and more transformed, more and more developed into probably ways that become maybe sometimes unrecognizable. This happened to a lot of jazz music around the 50s, the 60s, and later on. The more modern jazz becomes, the harder it is to hear original tunes. That's a topic for a different episode. So let's get back to this idea of open form. Then you start seeing how by modifying the elements within a piece, the whole design of a composition might change. Particularly, I'm interested in looking at forms that have a small, or I'll say short duration. For example, blues that has just 12 bars is perfect to discuss in this context, because blues have such a peculiar and strong short form. You will intuitively think, well, that means it being so short, it will be easy to find it repetitive, and that's possible. But it's also possible that blues is a perfect balance of something that is short enough, but also allows to never really feel it's finished. And how is that possible? Let's take a quick look at it, and then perhaps expand later on more on this idea of open form in different styles. How is it possible? I was saying that such a short form of 12 bars does not feel repetitive, even though the whole performance of blues is based on the repetition of these 12 bars. First of all, what are we repeating? We are repeating an exact sequence of chords. 12 bars means a sequence of particular chords, usually not many, and they repeat in the same order or very similar order. If you're an instrumentalist, if you play, you will hear those same chords coming back, and not only that, you will probably want to hear those same chords coming back. There is an element of surprise, but also an element of expectation, and both need to somehow always be satisfied when we listen to music. Now the question was, how can 12 bars never sound repetitive even if they are repeated? The key to this conundrum, particularly in the case of the 12 bars blues, is to be found in the fact that 12 bars defy squareness. What does it mean? 12 bars are actually 3 phrases of 4 bars. Let's hear an example. This is San Luis Blues. That's the first phrase. Second phrase. Third phrase. I've got through my 12 bars, and there are 3 musical phrases. So I said it defies squareness. Well, it will be square if it was 2 or 4 phrases. But since it is free, then you start either wanting to continue or to be already too long. In the case of this, you really wanted to continue. How is it possible? It might have to do perhaps with the same reason why a lot of classical poetry is written in stanzas of 4 lines, 4 verses. Isn't it that a coincidence? Interestingly, if you think about it and you read out loud metered verses, metered lines in poems where stanzas are squared, you recognize how the end of a stanza is very neatly defined. You hear the ending. You actually need to stop before starting the next stanzas. It's slightly different when you have stanzas made of 3 lines. There is an energy, an inertia that pulls you through the beginning of a new stanza in that case. This has to do with the fact that intuitively every metered phrase of every line somehow feels like needs response, needs to be responded to. So 2 lines work, 4 lines work, 3 lines work oddly, but that oddity, that unevenness, that unsquareness is the key to moving forward. I play it again, and now let's pay attention to it. Right, it's nice, cute. There's nothing original really in my playing, but you naturally feel that this is not going to stop. I might point this as a result of my own talent and ability of playing properly, but the truth is that the design of a 12 bars blues aims exactly at that. You can repeat this 100, 200 times, and virtually, if you're skilled, having the ability to make it sound always new and interesting. But it is possible only because the inner design of a blues allows this constant repetition and never exhaustion of inertia, of inner energy. So this is what I meant when I pointed at, when I talked about open forms. The blues, in a way, is an open form in itself. It's perfect for practicing music, practicing improvisation and invention, exactly because it allows elements to enter, develop, transform, and exit. And new elements can come in, operate, create, invent, transform, and move out. Let's play. Let's see some example, and then we give some other example of open forms. see, I could introduce new ideas and leave new ideas for other new ideas. The magic of open forms is exactly this possibility to allow transformative elements from within. This is clearly an advanced concept that I won't recommend a student starting with improvisation by developing this such concept. But at the same time, it is important when we hear that we have a sense of what's happening. New ideas somehow sometimes sound very good, in line with the previous ones. Other times sound less good. It's on our ear to detect. Another example of open form, still based on these 12 bars, is an anomaly tune, a tune that is not so regular. It's a bit strange. This is called Solar, and it is by Miles Davis. And this tune is, yes, still on 12 bars, but it sounds nothing like the blues. It goes like this. It's very short, it's very quick. I suspect I played it faster than Miles Davis does, but I also suspect that Miles Davis could play at any tempo. You probably had a similar sense. This doesn't stop here, and it's true, it won't stop here. It is possible to repeat this little tune over and over and over again, using the little motives to introduce similar ideas and make changes and transform them. Let's see a few examples. You could probably follow the line of transformation. There were some melodic ideas and motives that came out of nowhere. They were not necessarily related to the original tune, but the vast majority was, or at least that's what I felt. And in this manner, you could hear how by the end the tune has gained enough trajectory, enough energy, inertia. It could go in 100 different directions, and the beauty of jazz to me stays in this potential, in this quality. We start in one place, and magically, slowly, one step after another, we are in a completely different place. One of the best examples of open forms is another tune by Miles Davis. This is actually a tune that Miles Davis, of which both Miles Davis and Bill Evans claim to be the author. This is Blue in Green, and if I find it, so as I was saying, they both claim authorship of it. It's interestingly and weirdly, it is in 10 bars, but it's also slow. Let's hear it. Etc. There is a circularity to this melody that you perhaps could already, if you haven't heard it before, you perhaps could already point at. Right? It just goes up and down, and repeats and repeats and repeats. Let's see if I can open up this form, maybe in a quick improvisation, and see where you get lost, how far away into the tune you start wondering, is this the same tune? Are we there? was a quick extravagant variation on blue and green. It is a source of inspiration, but also a source of challenge, because it is not easy as an interpreter to learn how to stay within, let's say, a theme, an area, an idea, and yet be original, various, diverse, interesting, and creative with it. The final example for this concept of open form is a tune that I learned a while ago. It's called 500 Miles High by Chick Corea. And I'm not going to say much. I just want you to hear the main tune, the melody. I'm not going to say anything about number of bars or chords or anything. Here it is, 500 Miles High. Okay, it's a interesting melody, not predictable at all, and interesting chords as well. How is this an open form? Well, exactly because it's not easy to predict what's happening, when it's going to happen. I think Chick Corea here did an amazing job as usual in his output, in his work is pretty astounding. How he's able to be essential, meaning melody is quite short, not many notes, and makes it, let's say, so dry and so quick, but at the same time allows so many opportunities for development. What do I mean? I can take each one of these little motives and steps and chords and open them from within. This is an exercise I recommend to a lot of my students. So, for example, the first item is here. Okay. Before I go with the second item, pardon me. I want to open up that from within. So here we go. See what I mean? I'm like making one bar of music explode into an open space where I am entitled. I feel I have the room for saying something, and it's up to me to decide what. Let's do it again. I'm going to go a little bit farther now. So I went a bit farther, 4 or 5 steps farther. And I'm not claiming this is of particular artistry. I certainly enjoy doing this sort of commenting on the text. Chick Corea has provided us with a text, something like this. And here's my commenting. And then Chick Corea interjects again. And me. And Chick Corea. And me. And Chick Corea. And him. And him. All right, so this was 500 miles high. I hope this gave you a little bit of, let's say, inspiration, but also insight of on what happens when someone improvises on a jazz standard. The idea of opening forms is has always been to me quite intriguing, and this comes certainly from studying forms first. Of course, there is no playing with material unless we know what that material is. Particularly, the musical material that is contained in a form could be motivic, melodic, harmonic, maybe scales, maybe licks, maybe little tricks or little whatever it is that you think is worth giving your musical interest or attention, then that's probably where to start for development. And then opening up the form of a piece means usually what we saw in this case, making sure that there is room, that you take enough room for your creativity, for your development. Chick Corea wasn't the kind of person who would ask for permission to be creative. He was one of the most prolific and playful jazz improviser, jazz pianist. And I mean playful in the most noble term. He would show, actually, there are a couple of interviews and master classes, that you can find online from him. His approach to creativity was extremely playful, and he would use a simple motive, 2 or 3 notes, or even a simple rhythm, and repeat it in all sorts of ways, and try to manipulate it as if it was clay, in the same playful manner, until something interesting will come out, and that's it. He will use it for his performance, for his composition. There is not just playfulness in it, but just joy, I would say, pure joy of messing around with material. Today we have talked about open forms in the context of jazz, and improvisation is perhaps the most intuitive way of doing that. It would be a completely different topic if we were looking at how composers such as Beethoven have done similar operations. You don't see, we have not, we don't have the privilege to hear Mr. Beethoven improvising on his own forms, and but we, through his composition, we can do a lot of investigation and speculation on the forms that he had used, employed, and opened up, made explode. There are books written about it. This is certainly a trajectory for a different episode, or maybe a few different episodes. This is incredibly interesting, but also deep and complex topic. So I hope you enjoy our journey today, and let me know in the comments if you found something interesting or not, and if you would like a particular topic to be treated in the future. It will be delightful for me to hear it, and thank you again for being with me, and I will see you next time. Thanks for listening to Where is the Music podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, look up for others. I made a few. I publish an episode every week roughly, investigating each time a different aspect of music. The music making, the music listening, the meaning of music, and its relevance in our lives. It is very helpful for me if you like, subscribe, follow on your favorite platform. Where is the Music is on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, TuneIn, and Google Podcasts. If you like to support me, you're free to do so through Patreon. Link in description. Thank you again. Until next time.